Welcome to Explified. Creating a work of art, be it a literary piece, a song, or a poem, that stands the test of time, is not an easy job. We live in an age of information. The staggering abundance of content and creativity that has expunged the world into a giant web of interlinked ideations also came with a catch transience. Everything is short-lived because there is always new stuff to replace the old. The rise and fall of fame and success have been reduced to the short but sterile lives of internet fads and social media trends. Thus, creating a story which becomes permanent in an atmosphere which fosters unforgiving impermanence requires commendable talent. The Lindy effect is a good indicator of the shelf life of non-perishable things. If a book, scientific discovery, technology, or a movie has a lasting impression for 20 years, it can be fairly assumed that it will continue to do so for the next 20. The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck can be considered as a fine manifestation of this effect. Written in 1978 by then little-known American psychiatrist M. Scott Peck, this self-help book holds testimony to the permanence of high quality. Since its release, Peck's ruminations have managed to keep millions of readers hooked to it and has sold a mind-boggling 10 million copies. Robert Frost's seminal poem, The Road Not Taken, talks about how most people end up sacrificing a life choice best suited for them and end up embarking on a path that has been proved to be safe and secure even though it might turn out to be unhappy and unsuitable. They are coerced into taking such suboptimal decisions because they are apprehensive and scared. Scott Peck, in a worthy homage to this magnificent poem, which has survived throughout aeons, creates an account of how one can end up choosing the road less traveled by. Owing to his professional experience as a conventionally trained psychologist and his personal struggles and perceptions, Peck outlines a nuanced empathetic recipe for a wholesome and fulfilling life, which centers around discipline, self-love, gratitude, acceptance, and grace. The book famously starts off with the words, "Life is difficult." Then it goes on to establish that once you accept that fact, it loses its significance and life slowly starts turning less difficult. Peck broadly discusses 3 life lessons. Always be willing to update your views on the world. Change is the only constant. Although this adage is done to death, it rings true always. The inability to shake yourself free from cognitive biases is a problem everybody faces. We tend to hold on to things that have unquestionably been there throughout our lives, but the acceptance of the fact that even those are subject to change brings about a great deal of self-actualization and fosters discipline, which is the key to a balanced life. It is essential to remain open to being wrong. Updating or completely reversing your opinion on things that have changed, irrevocable, should be perceived as superpower. Most large problems are a culmination of not facing up to earlier, smaller problems which have been shored up gradually, or failing to be dedicated to the truth. The mistake most people make is believing that these problems will go away of their own accord and hence make no attempt to address them, trivializing them as normal. We need to take responsibility for every little thing that transpires. Only then we can hope to achieve an outcome that was initially desirable. Love is an action, not a feeling. According to Peck, the concept of romantic love is highly overrated. The action of loving is much more important than the feeling, which is fleeting. This is a tendency to think of love as effortless, as something that should be a spontaneous, uninitiated reaction between you and your partner. The notion is wrong, for while falling in love might be a heady rush of romanticism, staying in love is a habit. It requires responsibility and effort from both sides, and only when we realize that we will be able to control our reactions to love and gain the power to channel it in the most life-giving and appropriate way. Religion is just a way of viewing the world, which means we all have one. Peck differentiates between the often mixed up twin concepts of religion and spirituality, stating that religion is nothing more than our perceptions and reactions to everyday life, that is not shaped by God which we believe in, but our life experiences. A lot of Peck's clients had a troubled childhood and grew up in a toxic atmosphere of disrespect and physical abuse. Their religion later on in life was shaped by these misgivings and forced them to create apathetic and uncompassionate exterior shells to hide a very vulnerable and tortured being. How can we improve our religion then? This reverts to the first lesson: be receptive to change. Peck says taking a scientist's approach allows us to continue exploring and rationally questioning the world around us, opens it up to criticism and debate instead of blind trust, so we can constantly improve our opinions and perceptions about life. Peck's classic might seem a little earnest to some, to others it might be full of life-changing insights that are just waiting to be applied. The road less traveled strikes an optimal balance between the ideations of scientific thought and religion, declaring neither superior to the other, rather suggesting an effective mix of both in our everyday lives to achieve sustained personal growth.